Well, let's start with some of the news. DeepSeek is, of course, the new chat LLM from China that is very good and was very cheap to create because they did it by, are there penalties for competing it late? Oh no, just go ahead and turn in things sort of late. I don't think there'll be any penalty. If there is, it'll only be a point or two. But I don't think MyGrid is charging anything yet. Always turn in stuff even though it's late. It's good for you. All right, anyway, they're banning it from government devices, which is probably a really good idea because the app itself is full of ridiculous vulnerabilities. I was thinking of making a project out of this, but I'm not teaching the Android security this semester, but these are just the kind of vulnerabilities you look for, like plain text, transmission, and local storage of passwords. It's just obviously made using the sleazy techniques of people that aren't very careful about writing their apps. Where to submit our CTF score? If you're using a real name, we should be able to find your name and put it in, but you can also just send a screenshot in the column labeled CTF. There should be one. If not, we'll add one. And if you ever want to turn in something and you can't find anything in Canvas, then you can just send it in a Canvas message. Yeah, okay, good. That's fine. Yep, if my grader tells you to resubmit, just go ahead. Good, I'm glad to hear people are turning things in and settling out little problems. So I didn't know this one. Maybe you guys did. I've never used a GPU. I'm not a gamer. But apparently the new GPUs are melting the power cables because they draw so much power. And apparently this is a recurring problem. So that's pretty harsh. I do know that the data centers where they train AI and they have like thousands of GPUs, they have huge problems getting enough power to run that data center. They're putting them right next to nuclear power plants and stuff to try to get enough power. And I was reading in the UK, there's an incredible amount of data centers that are waiting in line for them to make enough power to power them. They need to build more power plants. And people are waiting like a year to get enough megawatts to power up their data center. So Apple, I had a student bring in an infected iPhone last week, and a general truism is that you're much safer on Apple than you are on a PC, and you're much safer on an iPhone than you are on Android, but you're not completely safe in either case. There are infections you can get, and so Apple just patched one saying there is an extremely sophisticated attack. A physical attack can disable USB restricted mode. So this is a feature that blocks USB accessories from creating a data connection if it's been locked more than an hour. And that's intended to stop forensics used by like the police and Cellebrite, the main company that does this. So if your thing is locked, they still can't get the data off it. So apparently they have a way around that. And now they patched it. So anyway, I've not heard of these GPU melting. Yeah, that's right, yeah. Anyway, so as you know, the current Trump administration is just breaking the law right and left. It's breathtaking. And what they did was the head of Congress put Congress in recess. So there was nobody there. And then they spent those 2 weeks just breaking every possible law, just doing things that are wildly beyond the president's authority. And the House and Senate Republicans are afraid to cross Trump. He threatens them with violence, and now that he let all the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers out, he has a mob of lawless felons that are loyal only to him. And this is exactly what Hitler did. Hitler had a gang called the Hitler Youth, which would just obey him. And so senators feel correctly that if they dare to cross Trump, them and their families will be attacked by the mob. So we're kind of being ruled by a criminal gang, like a drug cartel kind of, and they're ignoring the laws like crazy. So states are, of course, blocking these. He tried to change the NIH funding to cut the funding to universities doing cancer research and other kinds of research, and he tried to cut it retroactively. So even the projects still in progress are now having their funding cut. And this is all completely illegal. I mean, the National Institute of Health was funded by the congressional bills that were passed, and those bills are still in effect. The president can't arbitrarily cut them, but that's totally what he's doing, and that's what Elon Musk is doing. Elon Musk is just going through government expenditures and just canceling the ones he doesn't like without any process of considering the people that passed these laws. So the question is, what happens when all these lawsuits come through? There's something like 20 or 30 lawsuits coming through to stop everything Trump is doing illegally, and the issue is he may just ignore it. And over the weekend, I heard this, they asked Vance about it, and Vance, his VP, says judges aren't allowed to control the executive's power. which is completely wrong. And by the way, he went to a major school and got a degree in law. He knows he's lying, and he took the opposite position when Democrats were in there. But the current position of the Republican Party is that Trump is a king, and he can do anything he wants, and no laws apply to him. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court seems to be with him on that. They declared about 8 months ago that he cannot be prosecuted for anything he does, including killing his political opponents. They explicitly brought that up, and they said, sure, he couldn't be prosecuted for that unless he was impeached first. And I wish I had been there, because I would have said, how about if he decided to kill Supreme Court justices from the other party, and see if they would also be okay with that. And apparently they are okay with that. But we'll see. So what's going to happen is Trump is doing a lot of crazy things with Elon, and then slowly through the court system, these people will contest it, and it'll eventually get up to the Supreme Court, and then we'll see if the Supreme Court really wants us to have a king or not. We have to submit with images. I thought we didn't have to have images. If you're turning it in Canvas, you should have an image as well as the flag. If you're turning stuff in the automated scoreboard, all you need is the flag. All right. Anyway, we're living through a time of an extremely lawless administration, and we're going to see how far it goes. I was listening to data podcasts. Constitutional scholars say that what we have now absolutely amounts to a coup. We have a lawless president that is breaking laws right and left as if it doesn't matter, and we have Elon Musk, who is not elected nor appointed nor confirmed to any position, just arbitrarily turning off the funding of government programs with no justification at all and no authority at all. So, it's basically a coup. Somebody's just marched in and declared, I'm the boss and I'm going to do whatever I want, and who will dare to stop me? And we're going to see if the courts will stop them. So the interesting article, it's not just America ruled by a Nazi in the form of Elon Musk, who's an explicit Nazi. It's also in Germany. They're moving back to the Nazis, and Elon Musk was a keynote speaker at their Nazi meeting in Germany, telling them that they should quit worrying about the Holocaust and just boldly charge ahead and bring back the Nazi party. And they're explaining why this happens in Germany, explaining why people did this, and it's pretty much the same as here. People have enough time has passed that they've forgotten World War II, and the young men feel like they're just not getting a fair deal, and women should just stay home and be a traditional wife and stuff, and they want everything to go back to this 1950s thing, which is what Trump sells here. People see that stuff through rose-tinted glasses. I lived through the 60s. There's a reason we moved away from that stuff. But they're trying to pretend they can get back to it. I don't think they can, because the main thing that made the 50s work the way they did was that the women were essentially slaves. At that time, shortly before that time, women couldn't even own property. And I don't think the women are going to go back to being slaves. I think a few of them want to have some of the privileges of the old traditional wife role, but I don't think they really want to go back to where they couldn't vote and they couldn't own property and they were just totally dependent on their husband, even if the husbands want that. That's what Abigail Adams said. She said every man would be a tyrant if he could. Anyway, they're trying to do it this way. So let me stop the news. We got other things to do.